Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our regular council meeting for July 18, 2023. And this is our regular meeting, 7:04. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Standing for a moment of silence for our first responders and military members. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Roth.
Present.
Councilmember Mann.
Present.
Councilmember Soto.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra.
Present.
Mayor Moran.
Present.
For the record, all council members, mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem are in attendance.
Thank you. Next, we have closed session announcements. Reporting out from closed session, Roy Santos. Report out is Roy Santos as the proposed city attorney by a unanimous decision, 5-0. Council, are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Sorry. For consent, I'd like to discuss one item.
Which one is that?
7.
Okay. So are you asking us to, so that we can have it out of consent?
If there could be clarification, I don't know if, is Noe here? Is it?
Okay, can we hold on until we're on consent and then we can pull that out?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So at this moment, we are gonna have citizen comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the city council on any item not on the agenda and items on the agenda. If you wish to speak on an item on the agenda, please state the item number. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern and identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with state open meeting laws. No action will be taken by the city council this evening. Is there any public citizen comments at this time? Anyone on the phone? Seeing none, coming back to the chamber.
Good evening, Mayor Moran, Mayor Pro Tem Samra, Kristan Santos, representing the office of Congressman John Duarte. Our office looks forward to joining you tomorrow for the Sister City Welcome Ceremony. Livingston may be known as the last stop, but for countless thousands from Mexico, India, and across the world, Livingston is the first stop on their journey to the American dream, including our own district director, Sam Samra. When Congressman Duarte said he voted no on H.R. 2 because he wanted real bipartisan solutions for immigration reform, he meant it. He's proud to co-sponsor the Dignity Act. This bill makes our country safer by providing $25 billion to fully secure our border. It provides a dignified solution for undocumented immigrants living in America. It strengthens our economy, and it brings working families out of the shadows. It establishes the Dignity Program for undocumented immigrants who've been in the United States for more than 5 years. It establishes 2 options for completion after the Dignity Program, called Dignity Status or the Redemption Program, give them a chance to get right with the law, have full travel authorization, full work authorization, and through restitution payments, establish a program called the New American Worker Fund to help upskill and train unemployed American workers. It also created a certified agricultural worker program, and foreign workers could apply for lawful permanent residence after at least 8 years. Congressman Duarte also joined both Democrats and Republicans in introducing the American Dream and Promise Act, which seeks to fix the immigration issues facing Dreamers in our district. As a California native and a farmer, he knows Dreamers personally, who play a critical role in our communities. These children have grown up alongside us, attended our schools, played in our sports teams. They're our neighbors, friends, and colleagues, and they deserve a chance to live up to their full potential. Congressman Duarte is also proud to be joining a bipartisan coalition reintroducing H.R. 4319, the Farm Workforce Modernization Act, a bill updating the H-2A agricultural guest worker program. The Farm Workforce Modernization Act reforms the H-2A program to provide more flexibility for employers while ensuring critical protections for our workforce. It establishes a program for agricultural workers in the United States to choose to earn legal status through continued agricultural employment and contribution to the U.S. agricultural economy. And it focuses on modifications to make the H-2A program more responsive and user-friendly for employers and provides access to the H-2A program for industries that have year-round labor needs. Earlier this morning in Washington, D.C., the Congressman participated in a press conference announcing he was a co-sponsor of the H-2 Improvements to Relieve Employers Act, also known as the HIRE Act. H-2A and H-2B workers are the foundation of America's food supply. Their hard work puts groceries on our tables, it builds our infrastructure, and it secures our national security. Despite the massive benefits of the H-2 visa program, the current system is confusing, it's complex, and it hurts working families, small businesses, and rural employers here in the Valley. The HIRE Act solves these problems by cutting the red tape and simplifying our temporary work visa programs. It expands the labor certification period to 3 years, simplifying requirements for returning workers, and increases job transparency so we can create a reliable legal system that will both curb unauthorized immigration and bring working families here in the Valley out of the shadows. Agriculture is the lifeblood of Merced County and the Central Valley, and from the Dignity Act to the American Dream and Promise Act to the Workforce Modernization Act and now the HIRE Act, Congressman Duarte will always pursue legislation that provides practical, dignified solutions for both farm workers, farm families, and dreamers alike in our communities and here in Livingston and 13th District. So thank you for your time to provide this legislative report on some of the work you've been doing in D.C.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any more additional citizen comments at this time? Seeing none, we're moving forward. Next, we have discussion and potential action items. Item number 1, resolution appointing Roy Santos as the city attorney for the city of Livingston and legal counsel for the city of Livingston successor agency, the City of Livingston Planning Commission, the City of Livingston Public Finance Authority, and all other city boards and/or commissions, and approving a legal services agreement with the law firm of Alshire and Winder LLP to provide city attorney legal services for the city of Livingston. Council? Is there anything, any questions, comments before we go out to public comment? So at this time at 7:11, going out for public comment in regards to this item. Item number 1, is there any public comment on the phone in regards to this particular item? Hearing none, coming back to the chamber, is there any public comment in regards to this item in the chamber? Seeing none, coming back to the dais, Mr. Lopez?
Mayor, just to comment on this one, the agreement was slightly adjusted. There was some clarification added for travel expense reimbursement, as well as making one change from Monterey County and making it to Merced County. So those were the 2 changes that were added. The council does have a copy of those changes, as well as copies in the back for the public. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you for that, council. Are there any questions, comments, suggestions, recommendations, motions?
Mr. Mayor, if there's no comments, I'd like to make the motion appointing Roy Santos as a city attorney for City of Livingston as amended with the changes from Monterey to Merced and travel.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Samra. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So we have a first and a second by Councilmember Roth. Any other questions before we move to?
Will he be joining us at the dais soon after?
If
Soon after the vote, maybe, possibly.
once, if approved, yes. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Roth?
Yes.
Councilmember Mann?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 5-0.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. So now, You can start, Ernie. Starting at 7:13.
If I may, I do have a question as when he sits.
Now, is that a question related to the first item or the next item, or just a question in general? Or
Just a question in general, please.
now that you counsel, is that allowed at this time? Click on that. Yeah.
If it's related to the city attorney appointment, I would say yes, it's at the mayor's discretion.
Or is that a question that could wait when we report or ask questions, or is it just items for the agenda?
So it is unrelated to the appointment, but congratulations. I will ask when I report out. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of the council. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay. Feel free to jump in at any time when one of us makes a mistake, especially the Mayor Pro Tem. He's
Thank you.
the least experienced one here. Okay, all right. Awards and presentations and proclamations. Item number 2, presentation by Stacy Guzman, Executive Director, Merced County Association of Governments, MCAG, Measure V, 2023 Annual Report. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. It's good to see you all again. Oh, and I just dropped a pin. What's that? Oh, well, look at that. That's the pin I dropped. All right, and where am I pointing to the? That way. Okay. Now, this is a lot more comfortable for me. I'm used to sitting at the dais at our board meeting, so I like this. All right. Well, as mentioned, my name is Stacy Guzman, or Guzman. If you ask my in-laws, it's just really hard for me to say that, so sometimes you'll hear me switch it up. I am the executive director for the Merced County Association of Governments, and I'm here tonight to specifically talk about Measure V and the 2023 annual report on the move. All right, and I am functional. Okay, so as many of you know, I know that many of you were involved in the community, if not on the dais, when we were working on Measure V. It is a half-cent sales tax that is dedicated to transportation that was passed by Merced County voters in 2016. And it came with assurances that all of the funding that would be collected would be spent on transportation needs in Merced County and according to the funding categories that were set forth in the expenditure plan, which is essentially that colorful pie chart on the right. And that plan stipulates, and what you see in the pie chart, is that 50% of all the funding that comes through the Measure V sales tax, half-cent sales tax, goes directly to the local jurisdictions for your local transportation needs. And that's based on a formula that takes into account your percentage of your population and the percentage of road miles. So population and percentage of road miles. And that money comes directly to the city, so I sign a check every month to the city of Livingston, and then through your local planning processes, you decide how those funds are spent on your local transportation projects. On the 44%, that's dedicated to regional projects, and that's the orange and gold combined. And that's broken down to 27% of the revenue coming to the east side of the San Joaquin River and 17% to the west side of the San Joaquin River. And then 5% is dedicated specifically to transit and 1% to administration, which is to MCAG for audits and staffing and those types of activities. So each year, the Citizens Oversight Committee for Measure V reviews all of the measure expenditures to confirm that those funds were spent in accordance with the expenditure plan. That includes every penny MCAG spends for administration, to every dollar that a city spends for a local project, transit uses, any dollar. They review those expenses to make sure that they're in compliance with what the voters approved. And then in turn, those are audited by an outside auditing firm, and then they are what get turned into our annual report to the community called On the Move. And this report really is just a highlight of projects. It includes the totals for all the revenue and expenditures, but the projects are really just a sampling of what gets delivered in that report. This report is released every April, so it usually takes me between April and July to get through all of the council presentations. Tonight is my last one, so I'm excited to be here. But what this report focuses on is the audited financials of the previous fiscal year. So as you see, what's noted that basically is all expenditures from July 1 of 21 to June 30 of 22. So we're always reporting out about a year behind because of that oversight committee process and the audits that I just mentioned. So as you see in the 2023 On the Move, it reflects funding for that fiscal year. Copies, before I go into it, if anyone wants to follow along, they are on the back table in both English and in Spanish, and I've made copies available to the council on the dais. So for the 21-22 fiscal year, Measure V generated nearly $27 million in revenue, and with half of that going directly to the local jurisdictions. So when we started this, the estimates for annual revenue that we were working on were 15 million, and we're bringing in 27 million. So, when that means more funding to our local transportation infrastructure, it makes my job a little easier. So of that, Livingston specifically, of your local funding, as I mentioned, half of that going to the jurisdictions. Livingston's share for this past year was just shy of $600,000, and those are for the formula funds for your local needs. And then, of course, the city also has benefited from being a member of the Eastside Regional Projects Committee, which is a separate pot of funding, and we'll talk about that in a second. But just to highlight, because your staff have been great on providing pictures of the work, we ask, the only way we can demonstrate to the community and to the public, broader public, that their measure funds are being spent on improving their local communities and neighborhoods is by this type of work where your staff is taking before and after pictures. So I just want to commend the city staff for being really diligent. It helps. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? So as you can see here, Livingston's been able to complete a number of critical infrastructure projects, including these 8th Street improvements and the slurry, seal, and striping improvements at a variety of locations around town. And then some paving projects that were also throughout town. And these are, again, just representative samples of the work that the city's been able to accomplish. So I mentioned that small sliver, that 5% of the measure revenue is dedicated to transit purposes. And the MCAG Governing Board has been really intentional about how these funds are spent to ensure that the benefit is really felt throughout the county. And the very first act of the governing board when we passed the measure, I guess the first decision on a regional scale, was to create a free fare program through the bus. And that provides, originally, the program was designed to provide seniors, veterans, and ADA passengers free service on the fixed route system. So that's the scheduled system of the big buses that says, I'll be at this stop at this time, at this stop at that time. That's our fixed route system. And we were able to do that, and it was very successful for a number of years. But really to try to reach that ability to benefit the entire region, including areas where maybe the fixed route didn't serve as much, or to help paratransit riders who are ADA compliant passengers, or as we launched the microbus out on the west side, which is kind of like a bus version of Uber, in a way, a shared ride kind of service. The board has since expanded this program to include all bus services. So whether that makes paratransit completely free, and if you're on the west side and you're using microtransit and you are a senior veteran or ADA passenger, you have access to those rides for free as well. And that means last year that we provided over 156,000 free rides to seniors, veterans, and ADA passengers in Merced County. We've also used this funding to match federal funds to get our very first zero-emission buses, which the first of which got delivered this month. And it's going to take a little bit of investment on the infrastructure side and getting the right kinds of training and whatnot, but we hope to have those in service this fall. Okay, and then I did want to highlight, I mentioned the Citizens Oversight Committee, and that's the work of that group is what produces these annual reports. I did want to highlight that we do have a vacancy. Every jurisdiction has a representative. This is a non-elected person that has an interest in serving in kind of oversight roles. There's a lot of kind of financial review, which is not required to have that kind of experience, but it helps. So this process is simple. To get your position, you can do whatever your normal process is here at the city to fill municipal committee vacancies. You can do, all I need is an email that's from any one of you with authority that says this is our new representative, and we'll get that person appointed by the MCAG board. And it would be excellent to get this position filled before October. October is when the review of this coming year's expenditures really starts off in earnest, and the committee typically meets twice a year, October to really go through all the material, and then January-ish to review the final audited financials. And I can connect with Mr. Lopez on this afterwards. And as you can see, the city is not the only one with a vacancy. We are working quite diligently right now to try to fill a number of vacancies. Okay, so I did mention that, and I promise I'm almost done, that I'm getting to the best parts, is that while the annual report is only reflecting 1 year of revenue, I wanted to just quickly show you what the Measure V program has done since it started. And that's 5 full years of revenue. So since it began collecting on April 1st of 2017 through the end of June 2022, the measure generated over $111 million. That well exceeds our expectation. And that means that more than $55 million has been directed to our local jurisdictions, and $49 million has been allocated to regional projects countywide. And that's nearly, nearly $30 million specifically dedicated to projects on the east side of the San Joaquin River, of which the city of Livingston has a few. If you do want to see all of the projects, though, the QR code is on the report. You can scan it here. You can go to the website. We have this interactive map where you can see all of the Measure V projects that have been completed, are in progress, are planned, and we keep this updated as your project lists change. Okay, and then this is the best slide. So it's basically, in summary, what it's meant for the city of Livingston since the measure passed, and that means in 5 years, you're looking at $6.2 million in transportation funding. 2.5 of that is your local revenue, and then 3.7 for the East Side regional project funding. And that those are projects that the city sponsored to pursue with the use of the regional East Side funding. And that's the completion of the Highway 99 Winton Parkway on-ramp. I don't need to explain what project that is, I think, to anybody anywhere near Livingston because we had all experienced it at some time where you needed a little bit extra space there to make that right turn. And then there's, so that project's been fully expended. And then in progress is $1 million for intersection improvements at Hammett and Campbell, and then 1.9 towards the city's transit center, and that will be available starting fiscal year 24-25. I do want to mention that we are in the process, and I saw later on your agenda that we are in the process of collecting requests from the jurisdictions for the next round, the next 5 years of funding for the regional projects, and those applications are here due, in 10 days or so. I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. The 1st of August. So I was excited to see that you have that on your agenda today. So I'll close by saying, if this was just riveting stuff and you want to know more, our website is full of anything you'll ever want to read about Measure V. You can find all of the annual reports, the audits, the quarterly reports by jurisdiction. So if you just wanted to look at Livingston submissions, you could see them. The expenditure plan that was approved by voters, the implementation plans that are updated every 2 years, all of that can be found, and you just start by going to the MCAG website at mcagov.org, clicking on that icon, and it'll look something like, this is a screenshot of snippets, but this is the headers, and you can just see how much information is available to you there. And if you have any other questions, was that my cane? Is it my turn? Like, okay, I'm done. So we are all set. So there is my contact information. That's my cell phone. Follow us on social media. Give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer any questions tonight. Thank you very much.
Council, any questions? No. Well, you guys come up with some questions. I want to give you guys a chance. But anyways, so I know that you've been visiting different agencies throughout the county. So this is your last?
It is.
So you did that on purpose, right? Because you always save the best for last?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I was very well prepared for tonight because you were first, and then I think you had budgets, and it's a difficult time of year, so you went from, so yes, I saved the best for last.
Okay, all right.
It's not record, is this recording?
And broadcast.
What, okay.
And broadcast.
That was your phone ringing already.
Yeah, right.
From-
My phone's blowing up now of
Yeah.
other board members.
In regards to the representative for Livingston, I think you answered one of my questions. Right now, they only meet twice a year?
Yes.
Okay. And normally, do you know what the meeting times are? A long time ago, they used to be like at 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
Monday afternoons.
Okay,
They're like right after lunch, I believe.
okay. So
1 o'clock.
like a Monday every 6 months?
It's
Or-
actually just October and January.
Okay.
And that's just that, they used to meet quarterly, and
Yes.
now what we do is, as the jurisdictions submit quarterly expenditure reports to MCAG, we make them available. So if you're someone who wants to read them as they come in, or at the end in October, the expectation is you've reviewed all year's expenditure reports. So the meetings themselves, October and January.
Okay,
But there is a very strict attendance policy because those are both very action-oriented meetings. They get all their work done in 2 meetings.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of 4 meetings, it's 2 meetings a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not sure, I have to check, but, and I think this is just for Mr. Lopez, if we do have that application process online for, if someone is interested, other than just calling us or City Hall, maybe they can just access the website, and maybe if there's an application there, they can download it, or if not, we can probably check.
So Mayor, what we can do is make sure it's available on the city's website, and then we'll provide a copy to the council as well. And that way you can all share that on your social medias and all that.
Okay. And Stacy, if you can go back to the one slide where you have the 5% transit funding.
Oh, I don't know what I just did, sorry. Yes, 5% transit funding.
Forward, I think it is.
I think the transit funding,
Right there.
right
yeah.
here? Okay.
So normally we see 5% transit funding. Can you expand on that? What is that used for? Buses, for buildings?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So any use of these funds, this is not money that's allocated directly to the transit agency. These funds sit in an account, and any time there's a proposal to use these funds, a request goes to the governing board, and we try to do that in conjunction with our implementation plans. So I say that only to. There's a lot of transparency through this process. So what we've used, there's quite a balance sitting there. The priorities that the board has established was the free fare program, and we have a cap of a ceiling of how much we have for that program annually, and if we don't use that whole, because it's based on ridership, so if the ridership doesn't meet that threshold, that funding goes back into the general transit fund. But it's the first priority use. The second is to help implement or deploy our transition to zero emission technologies. So to date, we've only used it for matching funds for our first vehicles. I, though, could see in the future having a future request to use these funds for infrastructure, or while we're right now only trying electric, there's a lot of interest in hydrogen, and I would like to see our system pilot both. And so to do that, you have to have maintenance and operating equipment for both types of systems. So the measure would, as far as I'm concerned, as executive director of the transit agency, would be prime for matching dollars for grants to do those, because there's lots of funding for zero emission technologies. But for now, it's only been to purchase the vehicle, and I think it was a $500,000 match, I believe, and for our free fare program. But I protect this fund very fiercely internally, because we want to grow ridership, and I don't want to see us hit a cap where we have to draw a line and we can't provide that service for our veteran seniors and ADA riders. So that's our priority. But there's quite a bit of funding there.
Yeah, and then also, if people out there don't know yet, July and August, everybody rides for free.
Yes.
I mean, from anywhere in Merced County, and actually it goes the same way for people traveling into Turlock through the
Stanislaus
bus, right?
County. Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. So if anybody out there doesn't know about it, you can ride for free in July and August, and this is where the funding comes from.
No, this funding is only used for veteran seniors and ADA
Okay,
eligible.
okay.
We apply other grant funds to
Okay.
basically, we call it the free for everyone. So we still charge Measure V for veteran seniors ADA eligible. We still charge our UC Merced and Merced College accounts for their ridership, but it's still essentially free. And then everybody else, we use a separate grant fund to cover them. So on the back end, we're charging 4 different accounts depending on what type of rider you are. But as from a rider's perspective, it's free.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Council, any additional questions? Questions in the audience in regards to anything that has to do with this presentation in the phone? Coming back to the chamber, any questions? All right, anything else? Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Next, we're moving to announcements and reports. Supervisor Rodrigo Espinosa, announcements and reports.
Good evening, Council. Just to start off, there was finally, Jose and I have been trying to get the state Caltrans to clean up the burnt area of the Winter Parkway exit off-ramp here in Livingston. So finally, after 6-8 months that it took them to clean it up, they finally did. Because I don't think, aesthetically it wasn't nice, right? So now they cleaned it up. And we also had a lake out here on Hammett on-ramp on the drainage. It was probably like a foot or 2 foot high. There was a leak, so I called it into the Caltrans, and they were able to I guess fix the leak, but I could tell that it was there for a month or two, so that's a lot of water. And being sandy soil, I'm pretty sure that, I think Livingston sells them the water, so they must have been using a lot of water that was being wasted in there. So finally they fixed it. So road projects, I know I had mentioned last meeting that I was told that we were going to start this Monday, yesterday, and I called our public works director, and he stated that because he stated they were going to do Dwight on the north and on the south side and F Street, and then Lincoln, but I told him that he didn't say that Peach was on there, so because I added Peach on there as Mayor Pro Tem asked me to, they changed it to the beginning of August because they're trying to get an estimated number, how much it's going to cost to get it done, so that way they can go ahead and do everything. So they stated, and right. He said, I promise. He said, I promise. It'll be in the beginning of. I'm not promising. I'm just saying. He's the one that said that. So it doesn't come back that I said that, right? And then today we had a board meeting, and we approved the grant that we're receiving for almost $50 million, $49.6 million. The CalSTA grant that will be helping us with the transformation, hopefully, of Castle with the Patriot Rail. And so we Transport Center, so hopefully it will help us move a lot of the commercial ag business and other businesses from around Merced County. So hopefully it'll, like I said, it's going to create a lot more businesses and help out the businesses as well. And so after my comments, I will be heading out to Fresno to pick up the Zapotlanejo Sister City delegation. They'll be arriving at 10 o'clock, so 8 o'clock I'll be taking off. And so if anybody from the public would like to come tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, the mayor and the council, whoever can be here, I know some of you have to work, but hopefully you guys will be receiving the delegation. The mayor will not be here till Thursday, so I know Mayor Jose Moran will be picking him up in San Jose on Thursday morning, along with one of the council members from Zapotlanejo. It's policy for them to send one of their own to pick them up, along with, it'll be a nice gesture for the mayor to pick them up as well. So thank you, Mayor, for helping out and picking them up. And we'll be heading off to Huron as well with that. So I also want to thank City Manager Chris Lopez, who's been helping us a lot with the itinerary, and along with Monica. Thank you, Monica, for all your help in getting I know it's kind of like the first time, and it's kind of like it's a headache getting all the information and getting everything together to plan this itinerary. But I want to thank you both for and the mayor as well. And I know Paul was in with us yesterday as well. So thank you very much. So I also invited, I know the mayor invited a lot of electeds, but I got a call from Assembly Members Representative that Esmeralda Soria will be here. Ana Caballero won't be able to be here as well, so she won't be here. But they asked me if the mayor if he can introduce the Assemblywoman, so that way she's going to give him a certificate from the Assembly, State Assembly. So, and I know that we invited a lot of, the city invited a lot of the other electeds, and our county CEO will also be here. So look forward to that. And if there's any questions, be happy to answer from the council or the public.
Council, any questions? Anyone? Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for finally moving the road projects along.
I'm pushing.
One of the biggest complaints, I'm going to miss not waking up so early, because I'm going to fall asleep with me so smooth there for a while,
I'm also pushing Bird Street, Bird Street, Magnolia, and hopefully we keep Bird Street pretty soon, because I know that all the police officers have to go to the range, and it's pretty bumpy on the way over.
Yeah, but thank you, and thank your folks at the county. Thank you.
I also want to mention Mr. Santos here was accompanied us at the board meeting, and also with dedication of the ceremony we had at Castle. He was there along with your cousin Samra, the representatives for our Congressman John Duarte. So I think hopefully they can be here tomorrow morning as well. So, any other questions?
I do want to piggyback on Mayor Pro Tem's comments. Once started in August for F Street, Dwight, and Peach, how long do you think it might take for the repairs?
On Peach, I hate to say, probably a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't think they should take more than 2 weeks. But the one's going to take the longest, obviously, is Lincoln, if they can do from the city limits all the way to 140. That's a long one. That's going to cost over $3 million, so I think. So that's a long one. So hopefully they'll finish the small ones first and Peach, and then they can move on to Lincoln. So,
Thank you, sir.
But I'll ask anyway, so I'll let you know. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we
Have
have
a safe trip, Supervisor.
city staff announcements and reports.
Thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead.
We'll go ahead and start with Robert Nguyen, who's going to give a fire department update.
Testing. How's everyone doing tonight? Great. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, City of Livingston. Good evening. It's been really hot. Hopefully everybody's been staying pretty cool. So, the City of Livingston Fire Department, which is ran by Merced County Fire Department, we wanted to do a biannual department update to share with the city exactly what's been going on and some of the changes that we've been able to make in the short time that I've been assigned to the City of Livingston. We'll start out with our emergency activity from the 1st of 2023 to 6/30/2023. As you can see, primarily, majority of our calls have been medical aids, 523 of them, 38 vegetation fires, 121 vehicle accidents, 16 vehicle fires, 34 structure fires, 10 debris fires, 39 alarm soundings, 13 false alarms, 3 firefighter standbys, and 28 public assists. Hazard material releases or carbon monoxide, that's whenever a detector goes off, or we're assisting PG&E whenever they detect a leak inside of a residence. These are just some of the things that we've been able to respond to in the short time of half a year. That's pretty significant. I think that we're at 937 calls for the year today. So the summary of these, we have a total of 840 from the end of June. A total of 539 of those calls were within the city limits. 301 were outside of the city limits or in the sphere of influence in Merced County. And our PCF program through Merced County, they responded to a total of 43% of these calls, with 7% of them covering the station when the primary engine went for a long duration of time. So incidents within Livingston's initial area is at 64%. So 64% of the 840 calls were in the city of Livingston. So a fire station update. I arrived here assigned to the city of Livingston on May 29th. And from my understanding, I think there were some things going on there with the floors that really haven't got worked out. There were some speed bumps, and we want to share with everybody that the fire department floors have been installed. They look really good, and I can't wait to show them off. So the fire station floors have been installed. I'm very grateful for the work of the finance team with the city for helping expedite some of those things with the physical budget coming to a close. They pretty much held my hand, and I'm really grateful that they were able to spend that time helping me through that process to improve the fire station. Also, regarding the fire station, we had the inside of the fire station completely painted. We have training props and equipment that have been purchased, and all city equipment is current on maintenance. So thank you to the Public Works and the mechanics for taking care of that equipment. It's very important to us to ensure that the equipment that we ride on is up to par, fully maintenance, and meets all DOT regulations. Paid staff is currently developing a streamlined process for record keeping of all training, equipment, and needs of the department and the public. We want to ensure that we are a transparent fire department, that we work diligently with the city council, the city manager, as well as answer any questions that the public may have regarding the fire department. It's important that the public knows that we are transparent in everything that we do. So this is what the fire department looked like when I arrived. As you can see, that door to the right, there's a bathroom and a shower inside of there. The shower backed up, it flooded the floors. We had to tear out the floors that were in there, and this is what it looked like. I'll go through. This is just another angle of what the fire department looked like. This is our breezeway or hallway into the kitchen, into the living room or day room area. This is our kitchen before it got painted. This was the living room, day room area with some stains over the tile from the flooding that occurred. Just another angle. So, I don't have any pictures of the update because the fire department does plan to host an open house once we get everything arrived and put together so everyone, including the council and the public, can come see it. So the kids camp, that was a huge success. Jackie and the recreational department did a great job putting that together. The fire department was able to attend and participate in a lot of the different things that they did there. It was really encouraging to see that many kids out there being involved in the community with the extracurricular activities that they were doing, and it was even better for us, for the kids, to ask about the fire department. I think it's really important that the public knows who is going to be responding to their houses in the event of emergency. Music in the park, I attended 2 of them. They were great. If there's any videos of me dancing out there, I promise it's not me. 4th of July was a huge success. Very grateful again to the recreational department for what they did there. We were able to inspect the pyrotechs firework display. Everything came out very well. They were very friendly. I hope that they come back. All the safety inspections were sent over to Merced County to ensure that all the documentation process for that was accounted for. And the event itself was really great. I think we ran into a couple city council members. The mayor was there. And I believe that the city managers, I gave him a summary of the 4th of July events of how the fire department was able to participate in that. The Festa Parade, Engine 96, we parked right here on Main Street, and we did not participate in the parade, although we did encourage everybody to drink water, and we're on standby in the event of any medical emergencies. All the school inspections for the city of Livingston have been done. They've been documented. We know that the school year is coming up. Our priority is to ensure that the children of Livingston are 100% safe when it comes to fire and life safety. We do plan to work with the schools, particularly the high schools and junior highs, to actually run simulated fire drills to ensure that accountability and the process that is done correctly, and everybody has a streamlined process for accountability for the children that are there to expedite the services of making sure that everyone is safe. Apartment inspections have begun. We're about halfway through with the city of Livingston. There is only myself and my partner that work there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Our call volume can get pretty crazy at times, so we're doing the best that we can to get the apartment inspections up to date for 2023. The new business inspections, I've been working and trying to build a relationship with the planning department just to keep up to date with all the new business inspections or the new construction that's going on some of the properties that are already been done. I've been able to reach out to some of those owners that are doing things and building relationships with them. I know that the Sikh Temple off of Peach, we went out there and inspected the fire department access for the Knox box just to ensure that we would have access to that property after hours if it was closed down. And in fact, everything checked out really well. So we're happy to help out the community, especially when it comes to new business. It's very great for the city of Livingston. So these are some pictures from Music in the Park. Again, this was a really great event. I'm very fortunate that I was able to participate in this. I come from a city in Sacramento, El Grove, to be exact, and I haven't been able to participate in anything like this in the city of El Grove. So it's really cool that I actually get to come to work, and when I'm not responding to calls, I get to see the city come together the way that they do. And I think that there's really something special here in the public and with the community of Livingston. Yes, I do have a sucker in my mouth. Jackie handed me a whole handful of them. So this is the kids camp that they did. It was very, very encouraging. As I said before, we were able to hand out candy to all of the children. They were really excited to see the fire department there and just interact with us. And one thing I'd have to say about this as well is that not only the kids, they were not the only ones that were interactive. The parents were really interactive as well. And it's really good to not only see the kids engage with the fire department, it's also really encouraging to see the parents engaging with the fire department. That's something that we're trying to tap into to make sure that we're fostering healthy relationships for public education and fire and life safety. So public relations. We don't only respond to calls. So this is our commitment to you as Merced County Livingston Fire Department. We will be involved. Any activities that are going on within the city, any department that has any extracurricular activities, or mayor or city council, please, we want to be there. We want to represent the city of Livingston the same way that you do. We will build relationships. It is our duty to ensure that we build relationships with the people that we serve. The first time that someone meets me should not be the time that they call 911. So it's really important that we do everything that we can to continue to foster and build relationships. We will lead and mentor. So it's also really imperative that we go to the schools, that we engage, that we lead the community, that we lead the future of society with giving them opportunities to let them know that there's a lot of different things out there that you can do. So we will lead and mentor not only the children that are here in the city of Livingston, but for anybody that needs it. We will protect and we will serve. The last time that I was in here, I shared the oath from the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, and that is what I stand by, and that's what I am here to do every single day that I'm working in the city of Livingston, protect and serve. So coming soon, open house to see the changes and updates. I can't do it. I can't wait for it. I would like to have all the department heads, I'm coordinating with them now to have a big open house, have some pop-ups, have some barbecue, have some drinks, and just really make it a community event for people to come to get to know the different departments that continue to serve the city of Livingston. We also plan on doing quarterly safety videos, so whether that be smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, how to stay safe in inclement weather, or different things that are going on when there's big events. We will be doing quarterly safety videos. Our anticipation for that is going to be October 1. We're still trying to put that together. And fire department and public training days. So we were able to purchase a fire extinguisher prop. It does have live fire. It comes with a propane tank. So our plan is to not only educate the department heads and their employees on how to properly use a fire extinguisher, we want to set up training days for the community to come out and learn hands-only CPR, learn how to use a fire extinguisher. That is the first line of defense. If the fire's out when we show up, it's a safe day for everybody. And so we really want to be involved in the city of Livingston with doing training days. Public education seminars, we want to be able to get feedback from the city with what they would like to know about fire and life safety. It's just not about structure fires. Anything that we can do to educate the public when it comes to having a list of medications that one of your relatives may be taking, having an exit plan in a home, knowing what to do if you're in a car accident, knowing what to report if your house catches on fire. These are all really important things that we want to make sure that we share with the public to give them the best opportunity to be safe and report the information as best as possible. Emergency preparedness planning, I think that preparedness is everything. I know I had talked to Mayor Moran about the emergency preparedness plan that he would like to start working on, and I just want to let you know that the fire department is fully invested. There's a lot of resources that we can reach out to, that we can bring to the table with all the other departments to ensure that we give the city of Livingston the best emergency operating plan to give them the best chance of survival in the event of catastrophe. And then career days at high school and local job fairs. We want to be involved. Anything that you guys have, any ideas, any feedback, we want to make sure that we do what we can to get involved in the high schools and local job fairs to let people know that the fire department is here to continue to build those relationships. We want to hear from you. I believe I spoke with the city manager, Lopez, on creating a survey. It's still in its infancy. We're going to work with the city manager on creating a survey to really understand the needs of the public. Feedback from the public, the vision of the fire department, and question, comments, or concerns. For the past couple weeks, I've been driving around. I went to Jackie, the recreational director, was able to turn on the sprinklers for some of the kids yesterday. We went out there, we sprayed water with the kids, and I have to tell you, I came out soaked. Those kids, man, they sprayed me down. I had to come and change my whole uniform. Something interesting that I did yesterday, I went to the softball adult co-ed game, and I just pulled in there, and I was just talking to the community out there. What do you know about your fire department? What would you like from your fire department? And I was really able to get a lot of feedback. And what we have come to find out that the public really doesn't know a lot about their fire department. And that's our responsibility. That's nobody else. That's our responsibility, and we need to do better about getting out there in the public and educating people, because the first time they see me is not when they call 911. We want to be better because you deserve better. That's our plan, that's our mission, and that's the oath that we take. And contact information or questions, please take a picture of this, or if you do wind up watching it later, our battalion chief is Brian White. His telephone number is there, his email. My partner, fire apparatus engineer Andrew Minch, and myself. That's the station telephone number. Please leave a message. We will get back to you, or email us, and we will make sure that we get back to you as soon as you can. Some quick reminders. Check your batteries and test your smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms monthly. Check your fire extinguishers monthly. Create or revise a home fire prevention checklist, and cook carefully. If you see something, say something. Together we can do anything. So this doesn't just apply to the fire department. Please, if you see something, say something. It's really imperative that we all keep each other accountable, and it's really imperative that we all look out for one another. And please reach out to your fire department if you would like us to help you with any fire prevention plan. If you guys don't know how to change batteries in your smoke detectors, please reach out to us. If you guys need us to inspect your fire extinguisher, please reach out to us. That is our job. We want to ensure you're safe. Thank you so much for your time. Please, if you have any questions, ask them.
Well, how long you been here in Livingston?
May 29th.
May
A
29th.
month and a half, sir.
Okay. Well, I do want to say that this is the first time that I heard anything in regards to the fire department that is good. And since the time you've been here, like you mentioned in your presentation, you put yourself out there really, and it had been a while since we've seen anybody from the department in this building. And I really appreciate that. And once I get to hear from the residents, for the first time about how excited they are about their fire department, it's good. It's a good sign. And I know that you've done all of that work, and I appreciate that. So I never said thank you for that ice cream you bought me at the Music in the Park, so thank you. I think you were looking for a budget increase, right? I'm just kidding. But, in your presentation, one thing that, there's a lot of things that stood out for me, but one of the things that stood out was a phrase, building relationships. And I really appreciate that, and I seen you doing it. So, and obviously I only been there a few times when you're doing and building those relationships, and just getting to hear of all the other things that you've been doing, just random stops here and there, just talking to people, and getting to learn and asking them questions. What are some of the things that you would like to see from our fire department? Because, like you explained, the fire department is just more than just showing up whenever someone's calling 911. I seen you driving around a few times here and there. I never got to follow you to see where you're going, but next time you let me know whenever you're playing playing with the water with the kids. Let me know, because I'll be out there too. I'll bring my shorts, and I think that is very appreciated by the community.
Thank you, and all of you are invited to come hang out at the fire department and kind of see our day-to-day operations. Feel free to come by, see what we do from the moment that we wake up to the moment that we go to sleep, even if we get any sleep. You guys can see it, you guys can experience it, and so you have a better perspective of exactly what goes on inside of that place.
Another thing that you mentioned CPR classes. A few weeks ago, there was a resident that I did reach out, and she asked, was like, do we have any CPR classes? I never got back to her yet, because I was trying to find a contact, but that could come into the community and provide those CPR classes. But if that is something that you're going to be working on, I think that'll be great, and I'll be happy to follow up with that resident and just let her know that something is coming up, and you will let us know.
It's coming soon.
Okay, and the emergency preparedness plan, I think it's very much needed, and it's something that I brought to the city manager's office for a while, and then, we kind of got to it, but we never really got to work on it. But I think this is a great opportunity, and for you to put yourself in a position to where you're able and willing to participate, and it's a big thing, because being well prepared not only for fires, but there's so many different scenarios. And I think, I don't remember if it was you or somebody else that brought that up during the 4th of July celebration. Because even celebrations that big, that large, when we have hundreds and thousands of people in one location, that could be a place for an emergency, and we're not prepared and we never train for that, So how do we react when something like that happens at a big place, at a big event like that? So, but thank you. I really appreciate your work.
You're welcome.
Council?
Mayor,
Yes.
first, thank you for your presentation and your efforts. Really appreciate it. Your medical response, I think it was 65% of your calls go for a medical emergency, correct? Just about?
Yes.
Now, with that, how many, I'm not sure if you measure this metric or monitor it, but how often are you or your squad first on the scene? Meaning, how often do you beat Riggs or another ambulance service?
I would say, off the top of my head, we beat Riggs 95% of the
Right.
time, unless they're coming from a call and passing through Livingston, or they're getting food somewhere locally and they can beat us to the call. Majority of the time, we're there and we're waiting for the ambulance for a little while.
I didn't know it was that high. I was guessing about at least above 80%, I would imagine. Now, are there any efforts from your side regulating or monitoring or seeing what they're doing about their response times?
So CAL FIRE Merced County does not have any jurisdiction over Riggs, and that's something that I would let Riggs talk about. I don't want to speak for them or about them. I just know that the fire department, when we're waiting for Riggs, our main priority is to provide basic life support or basic life services to them to ensure that we're doing everything that we can to ensure that patient gets the best care possible.
I understand you don't speak for them, but there's been no conversations that have been started from your group or theirs, correct?
I do believe that there is a battalion chief that is the liaison
Understood.
between Merced County Fire Department and Riggs, and they are working on their response times.
That's something that, Mayor, possibly if we can take a look and maybe request a presentation and see what our response times look on that front. I think it's going to be really important. But thank you to you and your crew for always being there for us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Mann, just so you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Riggs contracts is directly with the county of Merced. And I know there's been a lot of complaints, not only from Livingston, but from other jurisdictions as well, on their slow response times. And they do tend to buck the system a little bit. I think they're going to work a little better on showing more accurate time responses, because like some of the outlying areas, they don't have the cars available as much. So, but however, in certain areas, they have more cars. So it makes it look like they're really responding faster than they really are, because it's a smaller community that tend to be real slow response times. So I know that they were looking to direct that, and I agree that Livingston, and in my view, has not been served the best by them, So I think we do need to make sure that we're totally engaged with them, okay?
Thank you. Anyone else, council? Questions, comments?
Yeah, just one comment, Robert, as you mentioned, next time to the water, invite the mayor to come out in shorts. That may be enough not to call him. You don't want to see him in shorts, I don't think, You don't want to scare the kids either, So let's just have them fun. Let them know the next day, hey, we had that, so.
Yeah, don't listen to him.
No, trust me, you want to listen to me on this one.
Anybody else, council? Yes, go ahead.
I just want to thank you for your presentation, for taking the initiative on many of the activities that you're providing outside of your fire department duties. I mean, they're within, but just seeing that extra effort that you're putting forth in becoming part of the community, that really means a lot to me. In fact, that you are out there within the community making efforts with our residents, coming together with our children finding out about our elders, and your open house. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
I'm really looking forward too. So there's this quote that says, "Would you want you rescuing you?" And so when I look at that, I'm not a resident of Livingston. I don't live here. But my wife and 2 kids, I have a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old daughter at home. And like, I'm relying on the fire department to save them in the event of something happening. And so I have to have enough faith in the people that wear the uniform up there to rescue my family. And that's the faith that I want to be able to give the residents of the city of Livingston when all of you go to work and your loved ones are at home. That's the relationship that I want to build. And that's what every community deserves, not just the city of Livingston. So please, we want to be held accountable, and we want to serve the best of our ability for the residents of Livingston and throughout the state of California. That's our job.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you. I've seen you out there quite a few times, 4th of July, the music in the park, and I think you guys are doing a great job. So keep it up, man. You're doing great.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else before I go out for, are there any questions in regards to this presentation or to this item on the phone? Coming back to the chamber. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, coming back to the dais. Mr. Lopez?
Mayor, just one final thing. I know that you and then I think every single member of this council really encourages community engagement, and that's one of the big things that I can appreciate about Robert, and that's a big push from this council, so thank you, Robert. Robert, you're bringing a brand new energy from what I've been told from previous staff members, so I really do appreciate that. And so the council knows, and then the rest of the community knows, we have a management team meeting every Monday. Robert's been invited to every single one. I think you've attended every single one too. So Robert's really become an extension of the City of Livingston staff. He's not a staff member of the City of Livingston, but for all intents and purposes, he's operating in that manner, which is incredible. So we know that the fire department is a critical role. It plays a critical role in public works, recreation, community development. And so it's critical to have the fire department involved in those management team discussions so that they're aware of the development that's going on and all of the pieces that are involved so that we're all on the same page. And then finally, I don't think that you touched on this, Robert, but this came up, I think it was either yesterday or the week prior, about CPR training for staff. And I know that Robert volunteered to do that for our team to make sure that our city employees are prepared in the event of an emergency. So I just wanted to thank you, Robert, for throwing that out there and want the council to know that this is a very collaborative approach that we're taking. So I can't thank anyone but Robert, as well as Battalion Chief White, who's very similarly minded in terms of providing the Livingston residents what they deserve.
Thank you, Christopher.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much for your presentation, and really appreciate it. Thank you. Next, we have announcements, and wait a minute. Next, we have City Council, City Manager. Thank you. Announcements and reports, Mr. Lopez.
Mayor, thank you. This will be a brief update. I did provide I think most of this via email, but I wanted to provide this to the community as well. And these are just some high-level updates related to the 4th of July event and then the couple days leading up to the 4th of July. In terms of police department stats, and we also have Acting Chief Ramirez here that's able to answer additional questions. There were 32 fireworks-related calls for service, 28 responses to those 32 calls. 4 of those calls did come in while an officer was already on scene, and so it didn't require another officer to be dispatched. There were 6 brush fires, 4 citations issued for illegal possession, and 5 pounds of fireworks seized. And then also 2, I believe, a couple citations related to the new and improved ordinance that the council passed earlier this year. On the fire department's side, Robert did mention some of the activity they had at the 4th of July event. There were 10 Merced County paid call firefighters that were staffed the day of 4th of July, as well as Robert staffed. There were 3 engines that were staffed on the 4th of July. And then during the 4th of July city event that was hosted, there was EMS as well as additional fire protection staff, including Robert, at that event as well. So I know that the mayor hosted a community engagement forum a couple days after. Some of the things that we talked about there at that discussion included evaluating some of the data that we were able to collect, calls for service areas, geographical areas. What the community should expect next year is more of the collaboration between the fire department, the police department, and then deployment strategies based on the data, and then also some operational changes that we're looking at for the 4th of July event to free up our officers in the community. And then finally, making sure that we have more follow-up, more data provided to the council in terms of the updates, what we're doing ahead of time. Obviously, public education, and public education on the front side. So Mayor and Council, Acting Chief Ramirez, Robert are both here. If there's any questions that the council has, they're, I'm sure, happy to answer any questions that you might have. So that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Council, any questions? So, and I do have a question, I think, and I know this was provided before, but so there were, you mentioned in the report, 4 citations and then 2 additional citations referencing the new ordinance. So for purposes of clarification, what's the difference between the 4 and then the 2?
So I'll defer to Acting Chief Ramirez on that, Mayor.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. So the biggest difference on those were the four citations that were issued were for possession of illegal fireworks. So the officer drove by and actually saw somebody lighting it. The other 2 that we're talking about that we're going to actually send down to the district attorney's office for review is going to be on the new ordinance for hosting. So that is, we had an area of the city that we were getting a lot of complaints and officers were watching those areas. So there was some, and I can't really get into the investigation too much, but there was some investigation that was done. A report was conducted, and 2 of the parties that were appear to be hosting these parties with the illegal fireworks, that's who we're going to try to send and for that new hosting ordinance that we implemented. One of the challenges that we had was, I believe it was passed on the 14th of May, but there was some time that had to go by, letting it out to the public and the newspaper and whatnot. So I think it was only a few days, maybe 5 days before the 4th of July where that was in place, and there was some miscommunication. And one of the big things that we had to think about was liability for the city if we were going to actually make a physical arrest or actual citation on scene. So we had to think about that. I think there's been some stuff that's been clarified, and like I said, there's a report that's been done with 2 people that were hosting these parties with these illegal fireworks. We were getting a lot of complaints on. So those are the differences.
So, okay, so the main difference, hosting. So that could be anybody that if I go to your house and you're hosting me and then I bring the fireworks to your house, the citation would go to you, not necessarily to me, or both.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that does, and next year we'll have a lot more education and input out there for the community and be able to enforce it better than we did this year, is the fact that it's going to be in place. So if most of the time when you're driving around, and I know it sounds easier from the outside looking in, but when you're on patrol in a police car and you see illegal fireworks on one street and legal fireworks going off at the same time, and you see 10 people in front of you, you can't, unless you saw them do it, you can't make an arrest. Okay, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, and that's where, there's been instances in the past where, officers have been fired for doing things, making a false arrest and things like that, which we don't want to do. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of one of the biggest hurdles we had to jump on these fireworks. So this hosting is once we can determine who's hosting the party, that they're either having flyers put out, or we know the homeowners that are out there bragging on social media. Those are some of the investigation tools that we use that we'll have available. Like I said, next year we'll be a lot more prepared for it.
And then also, even though legal fireworks are approved to be used or during a particular time of the year, which is a few days before 4th of July and 4th of July. So no, any other day or any other time of the year even legal fireworks should be used.
Correct.
Otherwise, they will still be able, or possibly get a fine if.
Yeah, so there is a time limit from when the sales start. I believe they usually start 48 to 72 hours before. So anytime, even before that or after the 4th of July, even legal fireworks you can get a ticket for that as well.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Council, any other questions? What do you remember? What are some of the fine amounts for the new ordinance?
Yes, so the possession, the first fine, I believe, is $130, and then it goes up to $300 and then $500. For the hosting one, it can be up to $2,500,
Okay.
which is pretty costly.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Just one more thing to add. Acting Chief Ramirez is, I think, pretty quiet. He leads by example more often than not, so he's not out there, pounding any drums. But I just wanted to say that Acting Chief Ramirez has done an incredible job leading the men and the women of the Livingston Police Department, and he's really provided some consistency in the absence of a permanent police chief. So I really wanted to commend Acting Chief Ramirez for what he's doing right now, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have city council members' announcements and reports. Councilmember Mann?
Thank you, Mayor. I was just informed earlier tonight that there will be some vacancies in the Rec Commission after a recent resignation. So please reach out to me or Jackie if interested. More to come on this, as there will be a application process for appointment. With that said, the group also needs more volunteers in general. Our local events are huge. They take a lot of time and effort. It takes a village. So please help Jackie out. She's a joy to work with. They need more participation from our citizens, and come help out, please. You can reach out to me, anybody on the council, or Jackie directly if interested. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Roth?
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Soto?
Thank you. And before I ask my question, I'll just go ahead and do my report. July 6th, we did have our Merced County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Mercado. I appreciate everybody that comes out from Livingston to support that. We did have our local band, the Rhythm Blenders, provide the entertainment for that evening. Many of our veterans did come out because we did recognize our veterans and our first responders during that event. Our next Mercados will be 9/7 and 11 November 2nd. Today I went to the Board of Supervisors meeting and also the presentation at the Castle Rail District. And on Thursday I will be attending the LAFCO meeting, and then I'll be going up to Sacramento to a discussion panel for the Women's Caucus, where they're going to address women breaking barriers. And I really feel that that's important because we do need to leave a mark and take up space among a very male-dominant dais here. So with my question, this was a question for the city attorney. During our last council meeting, it was a special meeting, July 5th. My question was, why was a supervisor for the district, he's not here, Mr. Espinoza, allowed time to make personal comments having nothing to do with our special meeting agenda item? The reason I'm asking is because residents asked me if this was legal and if we were wasting time with their and wasting their tax dollars when clearly Moran had allowed Mr. Espinoza to make his personal comments and then give a report. I wanted to know, what does the government code say about public comments during special meetings?
There's no difference between a special meeting or a regular meeting as far as public comment goes. However, excuse me, typically public comment is derived in two sections. You have general public comment for items that are not agendized, and then public comment for items that are specifically agendized. They can be put together or separated. Typically, kind of general practice is to separate the two forms of public comment. But whether it's a special meeting or a regular meeting, those are not uncommon to have public comment on both styles of public comment, meaning a general public comment on anything that they want to address the council on that's not agendized, or public comment on items that are specifically agendized. And it just depends on the properness of the comment, depends on which section of that part of the meeting agenda the comment is coming in.
And I just also want to point out that prior to the public comment, it was specifically stated by Moran, the government code that said, let me pull it up, sorry. So what it actually says on our special meeting agenda is that, please note, under California Government Code Section 5494.3A, the Brown Act, special meeting agendas need only provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the legislative body concerning any item that has been described in the meeting agenda. Before or at the end of the consideration of this item, the public will have an opportunity to comment on matters not on the agenda at regularly scheduled council meetings. So that was read prior, and this was a special meeting. So that's what our government code stated, our states.
Well, I'd have to go back to without having the actual text of the full code in front of me. I would like the chance to review it just to make sure. It sounds like that's what was on the agenda, correct? Because I wasn't the city attorney at the time, so I'm not sure what the agenda looked like. But if I could have a chance to look at the agenda, and I can come back and let you know.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Next, we have Mayor Pro Tem Samra. Thank you. Next, we have our mayor report. Just a few items. It's been 4 weeks since our regular council meeting back in June. And on June 30th, I participated and attended the Phantom Fireworks display organized by Recreation. It's always a great turnout and a good opportunity right before the fireworks booths are opened up and ready to sell the legal fireworks. And it's always a good exhibition. It's always, people can go out there to the park and just hang out and, be out there for about 45 minutes or so with the kids and stuff like that. Plus it's free, so that's always good. On July 1st, I happened to attend and enjoy the car show over at the Wolf Dens. And it was hot. It was hot, but it had a good attendance. It's I know they got in contact with the PD to look into closing a section of the street. That worked out great. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez, for facilitating that. And people out there, even though it was hot, it was a good stream of attendees enjoying the car show. The following day, July 2nd, on Sunday, I was invited and I attended the grand opening for the city bazaar. It's a new Indian food and grocery store downtown. And, so if you haven't been there, make sure you make some time and to be out there and see some of the things that they have. July 4th, most of us, or I attended the 4th of July celebration. I ended up being security for about 2 hours. That was fun. But I know that's not going to happen next time. I'm just going to be walking around and just eating, making time to go buy me some tacos and churros. And I know there was a lot of people out there. The lines were long, and it looked like they were having fun and enjoying the vendors out there. July 6th, I hosted a meet and greet here in the chambers in the afternoon. I think it was at 6 p.m. We had some good conversations, and people came out and asked questions, share some concerns, ask questions. They were all addressed. July 7th, I attended the Pasos exhibit at the Merced Arts Council. If you're in Merced, stop by the Merced Arts Council. I think that exhibition is going to be there for 6 months, I believe. It's 2 floors full of history from all over, especially Merced County. So that is at the MAC, Merced Arts Council, downtown Merced. July 11th, I attended the city staff luncheon here on the chambers. It was just a good opportunity to be able to say thank you to city staff for all the work they do. I know sometimes they probably feel like they're not appreciated. Well, let me tell you, you are appreciated. Almost everyone was here, and the food was great. And thank you to the city manager and Monica for leading that. And hopefully we are able to do it more than once a year. And so July 13, we had a meeting along with the city manager and with the CPUC liaison, Hector Corral. Got to learn a little bit of what they do in the department. I thought it was just, they have to deal with internet, but they do a lot more than that. And we got some leads on some of the things that they could help us with some other concerns in the city. Looking forward to follow up and with another conversation again. July 14th, the city of Livingston hosted or facilitated the chambers for a free immigration workshop. That's always well attended, and it's always appreciated that they get to come back into the community a few times a year to provide those services to our residents. And something that I just wanted to remind people, especially during the heat, we got to stay safe. Not only we have some cooling stations. Locally, we have the local library, but also we have the police department where you can come in and cool off. But also, and this last week, I got a few calls in regards to some pets out there on the street. Either they're dehydrated, some already dead. Earlier today, I got news of another small dog, out there on the sidewalk, and it's just we just need to be responsible. Just be aware that it's very hot out there. If it's hot for you, it's hot for your pet. And so just be mindful of that. And some of those little fur babies out there, it's not like they can ask for water. So just be mindful of that. And thanks to PD, every time I get a call, it's like, so I forward it to city manager, and city manager forwards it to Mr. Ramirez or somebody out there. And the only time that we can respond is whenever there's an injured pet or a dead pet in the middle of the road. Or if it's just injured, then, they'll go out and see what's going on, and sometimes they're able to take them to the vet, and but a lot of times it's not there's no happy endings a lot of times. So, but just be mindful. That's it. Next, we have consent agenda. Council, is there anything on the consent agenda?
Excuse.
Okay, I'm sorry. Next, we have item number 3, City Treasurer's Investment Report for the month ending May 31st, 2023. And that's included in the agenda.
Excuse me.
Yes.
In regards to item number 3, is that supposed to be presented to, in our public forum? What does the government code say about
Mr. Lopez?
presentation?
I don't know the details on that. I don't know if Roy knows off the top of his hand, but I would defer to the city attorney.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the specific treasurer's report requirements.
Anything else on item number 3? Next, we have consent agenda. Any items, council? I know that earlier there was a question in regards to item number 7. Is that you have a question? You want to pull that separately so we can deal with it separately?
Go ahead and pull the item.
Okay, so right now we have a request to pull item number 7. Is there anything else? Council, what do you want to do with the consent agenda? Is there a motion? I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve consent items 4, 5, 6, 8, 9.
Okay, council, so we have a motion to approve items 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9 in the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a first and a second by Councilmember Roth. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Roth?
Yes.
Councilmember Mann?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, item number 7. Ms. Soto, your question?
Thank you. I see that Noe is here. This question I could perhaps maybe ask Stacy, but because you helped with the design of it, I'd prefer to ask locally. There was a question that I had on the priority number 2, the Livingston Ace Transit Center. It does say here that the funds available was $2,900,000. However, the actual available funds for phase 1 should be verified. What exactly does that mean? Because attached to our packet, we also had the monies that was allocated for the upcoming years, 24, 25. It does say $1,900,000. So what does that mean that the money needed to be verified?
So, council member, we actually wanted to pull this too, and we wanted to pull it for a couple different reasons. That question did come up to me related to the 2.9 versus the 1.9. There was a conversation that I had with Stacy earlier today, and I asked that question. And it seems that at one time there may have been 2.9 that was allocated to the ACE project. It seems that there was a request from the city of Livingston to allocate $1 million of that to an intersection over at Campbell. I don't know if that came to the council before, but that is the information that I received from Stacy, which also matched up with the information that finance provided to me related to that item as well. That's all the information that I have. We probably still need to do some more digging as to when that was changed or any more details associated with that. So we're happy to provide that information. That's the information I was able to glean in the last 4 hours or so. So it is something that's still on my radar. Does that answer your question, council member?
In regards to that 1 million. But you did mention the Hammond and Campbell intersection, so that is priority number 3 on our list.
So I think this is a perfect time to jump here, and this is the reason why we wanted to present it to council. So if I could, council member, I think this will answer your question. I think if I'm tracking on the same wavelength as you, Because I think your question is the prioritization of that versus other items on that list. Is that correct?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because it is here, I wanted to know, it says additional roadway improvements beyond the intersection. So I wanted to know what does that look like? I'm a visual kind of person, and I'm seeing that Hammett and Campbell intersection, and I want to know what you're thinking.
All right. So first of all, good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Noe Martinez from the Office of the City Engineer. And to address specifically, and now that we have the map on the screen, feel free to ask any questions on this project. I'll be more than happy to address. But for now, to address specifically Councilmember Soto's question. So here, highlighted in magenta or so, the color, this would be what's currently planned for the intersection improvements. And it would include basically redoing the pavement here at the intersection, installing a new traffic signal, and then building the curb returns, the ultimate curb returns. So any additional funds that we request would basically be to maybe go up along Hammett to Walnut, and one of the items that we would look into would be basically, now that we're doing a signal here, tie it up to this signal here so they can be synchronized. So we would basically install the infrastructure for that, and then at a later date, we would come back with another project to actually have the signals working in tandem. I don't know if did you know what I mean by that? By synchronized, okay. And then, so that would be the major item that we would look at here, and then possibly doing some of the sidewalk on either ends of the project. We know that, and Miguel can touch on this, we know that there's a project right now in the works for this corner. I'm not sure exactly what's gonna happen for the rest of the site here, but if we can secure fundings for infrastructure, I know that would possibly incentivize future development in that area.
While you still have that map, the next question, I know that this was prior choice for number 4, Campbell Boulevard Rehab, Hammett to Main. So what this says here is that you would rehabilitate the roadway and extend the Max Foster Sports Complex multi-use path. So I'm visualizing Max Foster, but we have that open area. How are you going to connect Hammett to Main with the park?
Yeah, that's a great question, and as a matter of fact, the description is a little misleading, and I apologize for that. It didn't mean to say that we would actually do the path from. So this is the project here. It's been described. Campbell Boulevard between Hammett and Main. The intent of the description was to say that the portion of and this will probably be a topic for another discussion, but previous discussions with the city staff have envisioned for the city basically running a multipath all the way from the park, from Max Foster, either along Walnut and then coming down Hammett, and then this way, and then ultimately connecting here to the A station, and then obviously to downtown, and then commercial areas on this side. So right now, there is no project to do that path. And then the other option would be to come down Dwight and then along Campbell this way. Right now, there is no projects either to do this route or to do that route. But what the intent of the description was basically to say that this project would build this part of the envisioned path. That's what the description meant. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions? So I do have a question that I brought up, but I want to allow Mr. Lopez to provide some additional information just in case that question is asked or answer in your remarks.
So Mayor, thank you for that. And the reason that the staff wanted to pull this item was, and I wanted to provide a broad overview to the council so that they understood why. The priorities that have been established in the staff report are purely from a staff perspective in terms of what we think, based on the information that we have and the needs of the community, what we think the priorities should be as a recommendation to MCAG. But we know that the priorities that staff have aren't necessarily always the same priorities that the council has as a policymaking body. So the main priority of why we pulled this for discussion is to make sure that the council clearly articulates the priorities as the council sees, because that's what we will then provide to MCAG. One of the reasons why it was so important to do that was because in previous iterations, once the recommendations are provided by the MCAG jurisdictions, they will then be reviewed by a review committee made up of MCAG. I think it's committee members of the directors that are made up of that, I think.
Correct, and staff as well.
And staff as well. So what we wanted to do is let the council know that in previous reviews that have been done, MCAG has used concepts such as funding the number one priority as established by the governing boards as the programs or the projects that are being funded by the MCAG board. So we wanted to make sure that the council had an opportunity to clearly articulate what the number one priority was, because in previous years they have used that number one priority as the mechanism by which they fund these projects. We wanted to make that clear to the council. And then the last thing is that we don't know what rubric or criteria they will use now. We've reviewed the guidelines that they have as to what is an eligible project. And so we believe that the projects that are before you meet that eligibility criteria. Again, we don't know what criteria they will use on a go-forward basis. We don't know if they'll take the number one priority again or use some other criteria. So we wanted to make sure that we provided that information to the council to be transparent with how previous iterations have been done, and then have the council make that determination to us, and then we carry that to MCAG. So that's the reason why we wanted to allow that conversation and get that direct feedback from the council and not get ahead of the council. So that's why we pulled it. That's why it was so important to have this conversation. And Noe, did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I can add to that. As we saw from Stacy's earlier report on the funding and how it's been used, you saw there that with the so right now what we're doing, what the MCAG is doing, they're programming the next 5 years of revenues, which basically continues the previous 5 years that were allocated to projects back in 2017. And with that previous 5-year allocation, the city was able to secure, as you saw, close to $4 million. And just to point out and to reiterate what Christopher said, the priority on the projects has what we saw sort of a direct correlation of possibly receiving funding from MCAG. And last time we actually had, if not the same number of projects, maybe a couple of more. and they actually funded the top 3 last time. And that amounted to, as it was shown earlier, about 3.7 million. Depend, like Christopher said, it'll be up to them as far as what rubrics they use. But I can foresee also them using the request amount in terms of how much Livingston will be allocated. So it'll be directly correlated to how much the city asks for each of the projects. Anywhere from 3 to 5 million will probably be a reasonable range for Livingston to secure funding. For this time around, it could be the top 2 priorities, it could be the top 3, it could be the first one, just depending on the amount of funds that are being requested per project.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't the priority number 1 only fully paid out? That's what I saw from Stacy's presentation.
Yes, that's the project that has been completed. The other 2 are still in the works, the other 2 projects.
So thank you for that clarification, both Noe and City Manager. That really helps, because when you did ask me if that was in regards to prioritizing, knowing that council hasn't really weighed in on what we would like to see done with the money that we receive, and seeing the layout and knowing that priority number 2, that's a conversation that we need to have. I'm seeing that what has been put before us doesn't make as much sense when you spoke about it. It makes sense, I see it visually, but to have them already placed in this order doesn't. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Noe, thank you for your presentation. One of the questions that I have and has been verified, we do have the $1.9 million set aside already from previous funds for the ACE train. And that's for phase 1. So now what we're doing is asking additional funding for phase 2. Is that what it is?
Correct. The request would be to basically fund completely phase 1 and phase 2. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe we came up with some numbers last time around for both phase 1 and phase 2. I believe phase 1 was estimated around 3 million, and then phase 2, I believe 5 million. So that would be
towards that goal.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that was it for me. Council, any other questions before we go out for public comment? All right, so at this time I'm going out for public comment. Is there any questions or comments, public comment in regards to this item number 7 on the phone? Hearing none, coming back to the chamber. Any questions, comments in the chamber in regards to this item? Seeing none, bringing it back to the dais. Council, what is your wish? So agenda item is, this is a resolution approving and prioritizing the City of Livingston candidate projects for the 2023 MCAG call for projects. Well, this was pulled, right? So it's no longer in the consent agenda.
So the prior items were already approved with the prior motion and vote. So I believe Councilmember Soto's question was whether or not this item was being pulled for later consideration, I believe, to address priorities versus approving the priorities as stated in the item. So
I do believe, well, it is my understanding, but maybe Mr. Lopez can clarified that this item was pulled just for discussion and for clarification and for questions, but Mr. Lopez?
That's correct. Our desire was to pull it from the consent and pull it purely for discussion, to have the council provide the direct feedback for us and take it separate and apart from the consent calendar items, Mayor.
So at this time, so we have, priority number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Are you looking to either keep keep the projects, well, would it make any difference if we keep them that way, or is it up to MCAG to say which projects they're going to be able to fund? How does this work, just for clarification?
Like we mentioned earlier, it's up to them because they're the ones that score the projects and they plug projects here and there depending on how the funding is allocated. So they could very well decide to do, based on the merits of the project, decide to fund priorities 1 and 3 and skip 2, or vice versa. Yeah. So this is just our attempt to tell the folks that this is our list of priority projects. This is how we see it prioritized.
So on our end, all we have to do or consider, it's either approving this item as is, and then they will, I guess, kind of tell us.
Yeah, because it's nothing is guaranteed in terms of getting funding for these projects. Yeah.
Okay. Does that clarify any questions? Anything else? Or yes, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, just for clarifications, I'll share with the rest of the council. I just spoke with Councilmember Soto quickly to let her know that she can, during the motion section, if she wants, make a motion asking for this item to come back for consideration at another meeting. But I just wanted to provide full disclosure to the council of that advice.
Yes. Are there any more, any additional questions now that it's back on the diet?
Yeah, if we continue this item to another date, are we up against any deadlines?
August 1st.
Huh?
August
Yeah.
1st.
So when is our next meeting?
We don't have one.
And we still need some time to prepare the application, so yeah.
Yeah, because if we table this to the next, we may not be able to get it to the MCG, so nothing's going to get
Approved.
on the list.
Correct.
So, I mean, what we can do is kind of have talk amongst ourselves as far as council's wish for priorities. I mean, we can talk among ourselves and just kind of, I mean, I don't think it really matters, really, because they're either going to fund it or not fund it, really,
Yeah.
And quite frankly, either way, we all know how important ACE is to us, all of us, and the intersection at Campbell, signalization and all that is very, very important, and rehab is very important. So these are all, it may not be 1, 2, and 3 that we all may see, but I think we all agree that they are 1 through 5 for us, it's whatever sequence we want. So I'm not sure if there's need to really continue the item to just approve it and then. No. Yeah, it's not going to change.
Yeah.
So I think we should just, instead of bringing it back another date, we should just approve it.
Is that a motion?
Yes, it is a motion. Thank you, sir.
So we have a motion to approve. Is there a second? I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Councilmember Roth,
Yes.
Councilmember Mann,
Yes.
Councilmember Soto,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra,
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Next, we have
Against a damn deadline.
public hearings. Item number 10, resolution approving conditional use permit number 2023-2 and resolution approving site plan and design review application number 2023-03, a request to develop a 950 square foot drive-through coffee shop and an 80-foot high freeway-oriented sign on a .86 acre property located on the north side of Joseph Gallo Court. east of Winton Parkway, APN number 022-020-010. Mr. Miguel?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, members of the audience, Miguel Galvez, contract planner on behalf of the City of Livingston. As you mentioned, this item is consideration of a request to develop a 950 square foot coffee house with a dual drive-through lane and an 80-foot high freeway sign on property. And, along Joseph Gallo Court. Let me bring up an area of the property here. The project site is generally located on the north side of Joseph Gallo Court there, as reflected in an outline of red on the map. At the end of the cul-de-sac, it's a proposed address of 945. The property is currently vacant. Let me zoom a little bit closer. Although the property is vacant, some improvements do occur on the property. There's an irrigation canal that's underground. They're on the north side of the property. There's a fire hydrant on the north side of Joseph Gallo Court. Some of the surrounding development on the property to the west. There's a commercial establishment there. There's a Subway and another business establishment. On the property to the east, it's developed with a city well. I think it's well number 13. Properties to the south are developed as the Rancho San Miguel Grocery Shopping Center. Looking at the city's land use maps, on the left is the city's general plan designation. The property and all the properties to the west in pink have a general plan designation of HC, highway commercial. When it comes to zoning, the map on the right, it has a zoning map of C3, highway service commercial. You can see that. As mentioned, the property is a little just under an acre, 0.86 acres. The road in front of it is all improved. Joseph Gallo Drive, even though it's a cul-de-sac there, the intent is for that street to be developed east at this point. That would only take place when development on the property to the east occurs. Here's a current picture, or a recent picture of the property site. As I mentioned, it's currently vacant. There's some vegetation on the west side, some landscaping, and then you have the city well on the right of the picture. Going a little bit further into the project itself, the applicant proposed to develop, as I mentioned, a 950 square foot commercial building, a coffee house, the Dutch Brothers Coffee House. It will have outdoor seating, a 15-space parking lot, a 35-space dual queuing lane. It also includes an 80-foot high freeway-orientated sign. The project also includes on-site signage, landscaping, and lighting. The proposed coffee house is intended to be operated 24 hours, 7 days a week, which may be adjusted as market demand takes place. The business would employ 4 employees per shift, and there would be 3 work shifts per day. Here's a copy of the site plan. When staff worked with the applicant, we tried to make sure that most of the queuing traffic is conducted on site and doesn't go out onto the street. So most of the queuing, there's 2 lanes, and again, totaling 35 parking spaces. So we want to make sure that most of it stays on the site, giving patrons the opportunity to go in and out if they want to choose to park there and walk up to the bar or to the store there. The freeway sign was proposed to be on the northeast corner, but that is located near the underground irrigation canal. They will have to work with MID to find a proper place to put that and get that approved through the irrigation district, just to make sure it does not interfere with their infrastructure there. Here's a copy of the floor plan. As I mentioned, 950 square feet. There's outdoor dining. There's no indoor facilities, so all this is just for employee access. Here's some copies of the elevations. It keeps their logo. We pretty much are going with their design. The project is in the Gallo development area, which was subject to a development agreement, which required the property owner, which is the Gallows, to sign off and approve the design, which they have. They're okay with the design, and it maintains the Dutch Brothers trademark. Here's some additional signage and elevations there. The freeway-oriented sign, if it's a sign that's 60 feet or under, it can be permitted as part of the site plan design review application. When it goes above 60 feet to a maximum of 80 feet, it does require a use permit application. The use permit is also required once you have a drive-through component associated with the business. But here's a rendering of the proposed freeway-oriented sign. You can see that there. The project is also required to submit a landscape plan. That landscape plan and irrigation plan will be reviewed to make sure it's in compliance with our water efficient requirements. That'll be done by a professional landscape architect, but they submit a landscape plan as well. Issues, really there's been no major issues. As I mentioned, the design was approved by the property owner. There's no adverse comments that came in from some of the agencies that we routed the project to. Staff has not heard any comments of concern from surrounding businesses, owners, or any of the members of the public. A traffic impact analysis or traffic impact assessment was prepared for the project. It found that the proposed project was consistent with the traffic assumptions and conclusions made as part of the 1996 Gallo Livingston project traffic impact analysis. This was routed to Caltrans for their comment and review. So we want to make sure that they have documentation that our traffic impact analysis shows that there's no additional increase for traffic impacts than what was originally envisioned. There is a minor issue, and that has to do with an amendment to condition of approval number 12. Condition of approval number 12 is both in the use permit resolution as well as in the resolution for the site plan design review application. The amendment is cites that the developer or operator shall submit the plans for trash enclosures for city staff review and approval after enclosures have been approved by Jilton Solid Waste Management. As the council knows, there's a process right now in play regarding the selection of a solid waste collector, and we don't know who that might be. It might be Jilton, but we don't know. So the proposal is to amend condition of approval number 12 to eliminate the wording for Jilton Solid Waste and then add what's underlined, approved by the city's approved solid waste collector. So whoever is chosen will be consistent, will be good. I reviewed this with the applicant's agent, and they don't have a concern with this. They're also online. They're from Oregon, and they're here in our presentation. They won't be able to respond to questions by the phone. When it comes to general plan consistency, as you know, all projects, we have to review that for consistency with the general plan. And so we look at the city's objectives, policies, and here they're identified. Objective number A, ensure that the provisions of adequate commercial shopping opportunities and office space locations to meet anticipated needs. So we're just trying to, this is a vacant property and provide opportunities for people that want to develop commercially and really utilize this property that is meant for that. Service commercial designates land for commercial activities in which the function is of equal importance to the product trade. The highway commercial, which this is, allows service commercial uses due to space requirements and the proximity to highways. And this probably makes perfect sense to have it a highway service orientated business. It really serves the passing public. It serves the local residents as well. But this property really meets the intent of the general plan based on the policies that have been adopted in there. When it comes to the zoning ordinance, we reviewed it for meeting the highway commercial development standards, the C3 development standards, and it meets all the setback requirements, the parking standards, and all of those things. As I mentioned, the use permit is required because there's a drive-through component associated with the coffee house and the 8-foot high orientated sign. So both of those are subject to the use permit approval. When it comes to use permit findings, these are the findings: that the site is adequate in size and shape. B, that the site is served by streets, highways adequate to carry the quantity of traffic. C, that there's facilities adequate to serve the proposed use or the improvements that are available to, that will be complete prior to the issuance of the building permit. And that the project is consistent with the general plan if granted. The staff finds that the use permits findings can be met, and we'll be recommending approval for that. When it comes to compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, staff is recommending that the project is eligible for a categorical exemption under CEQA Section 15332 infill development, which meets the following conditions. One, it's consistent with the general plan and zoning. As I mentioned, it's highway commercial, and C3, highway service commercial. B, that's within the city limits and consists no more than 5 acres, is less than 1 acre. It has no value for habitat for endangered or threatened species or nothing. This is pretty much an area that's predominantly built up. D, it will not result in any significant effects relating to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality. And E, it can adequately be served by all required utilities and public services. So staff can easily recommend that the CEQA exemption is in order for this project. In conclusion, staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the conditional use permit 2023-02, subject to the findings and conditions approved in the staff report and in the resolution. And then also adopt the resolution approving the site plan design review application number 23-03, subject to the findings and conditions approved, including that staff report, with the exception, as I mentioned earlier, including an amendment to condition of approval number 12. In each of those resolutions, to read as follows: the developer and/or operator shall submit the plans for trash enclosures to the city staff for and approval after access to the enclosures have been approved by the city's approved solid waste collector. That concludes my presentation. Myself, I thought Noe was here. Staff is available for questions, as well as I believe the applicant is available by telephone as well.
Council, thank you, Miguel. Council, any questions? All right, so let me go out for public comment in regards to this item. Is there any questions or public comment in regards to item number 10? Anyone on the phone?
This is Sandra Fox. I'm with Barghausen Consulting Engineers, and we represent Dutch Bros Coffee. I'm happy to answer any questions, Mayor and council members. Miguel has been absolutely helpful through this whole process. I believe we also have Mike Singleton on the phone, who we are working with regarding the property itself. I would like to make a note that in the Planning Commission minutes, I misspoke. The hours of operation, if they are not 24 hours, would be Sunday through Thursday. I misspoke and had said Monday through Thursday, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., and then Friday and Saturday would be 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. But Dutch Bros does plan on trying to work the 24-hour schedule, given that it is a highway service commercial area with a great deal of traffic. With that, our client is happy with the amendment to the waste hauler condition, and they are very excited to get this project started after permitting and be a part of the city. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. And just for clarification, that is Monday through Thursday, because, so does that, Miguel, does that need to be part of it's in there? It's already in there. Okay. So, because I did hear 24 hours, but now just want to clarify. Perfect. Thank you for that. Is there any questions from residents in regards to this item number 10? Anyone on the phone? Hearing none, coming back to the chamber, are there any questions in the chamber? Seeing none, coming back onto the dais. Ms. Soto?
So I do have a question. Number 37, how does that work? It's in regards to the TIA, because the letter that's here, it says it, documents prepared since 1996 about the traffic flow. Our speaker had just commented that it's highway traffic, and many of us that frequent that area, especially during peak lunch hour and that morning, got to do the Starbucks run and, Dutch Bro run. What is, the traffic study was done, and it's saying that we're not going to have any additional complications in that area, but we do know that we see traffic that comes, and I know that the plan already states, because it didn't make sense about the 35 cars waiting, because I'm thinking we're going out to the street, but it's two lanes. So that made sense going around the restaurant. And you had stated earlier they tried their best to not have cars out onto the street. But we are constantly fighting in that area, trucks, semis, because of the gas station, the Quick Stop there. Then we have Starbucks, people coming off the highway, trying to either get to Carlos Jr. Then we have at the end of that, I don't want to say cul-de-sac, but at the end of that street, we're going to have Dutch Bros. So how does that study work, being that we've used documents as old as 1996, 99, 2007? How does that look currently? Because when I look at that, and I've heard other residents saying, oh my gosh, we're going to be backed up with fighting all the semis and everybody trying to get their caffeine fixes.
That's a really good question. When the project was originally considered in 1995, a traffic study was done for not only this project site, but the whole area. And so they kind of identified how much traffic will be generated collectively. And the same traffic engineer that did that in 1995, he provided an updated analysis in 2022. And he kind of said, will this proposal be consistent with what was originally envisioned? So we kind of asked him, if it's going to be more, then we need to address that. And so his response, which is included as an attachment, I think is a part of attachment number 4, it starts on page 173 of the agenda packet. K.D. Anderson was of K.D. Anderson Associates prepared these two documents, and he compared both the project with what was originally intended and said, you know what, it's going to be the same amount of traffic. There's really no increase. It's going to be consistent with what's originally envisioned. And so he prepared this document to kind of show us, like, there's no additional impact in terms of traffic. There will be traffic, but it's not going to be greater than what was originally anticipated. And when it comes to traffic, we look at it, is there enough improvements, like the traffic signalization, to accommodate that? Is the street wide enough? Would there be any type of additional conditions that would be needed to make traffic flow easier or smoother? And the comments that we got from J.D. Anderson is like, there's no additional traffic that would require additional improvements. And so based on that, what was originally envisioned and what is proposed are kind of similar. And so it doesn't make sense to kind of redo a new traffic impact analysis or a new traffic study that would result in additional impacts. And I don't know if Noe has anything else to add, but I'm not a traffic engineer, but I've dealt with many of them and I've reviewed a lot of these things, and hopefully that answers your question.
I'm just curious because unless you've actually fighting that kind of area, how there can be no impact on a daily basis, and even fighting not just our Livingston residents, but people coming off the highway. I mean, things have changed, and they're going to continue to change with those improvements in that area. So that was just a question. Observation.
Council, any other questions? So just for clarification, I think I already went out for public comment, right? All right, so back on the dais, council, what is your wish? Is there a motion?
Bring it.
So I motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a first by Mayor Moran and a second by Councilmember Rath. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Roth?
Yes.
Councilmember Mann?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes,
Motion approved by a vote of 5-0.
thank you. Next, we have discussion and potential action items. Thank you, Miguel. And item number 11, discussion and direction on waiving the fee for Memorial Park use for the Livingston High School all-class reunion to be held on September 23, 2023.
So, perfect timing. We have Jackie that will come up and present this item.
And it's not about coffee right now. It's not item number 11. Congratulations, Jackie.
When we go this late, you guys should provide coffee for the staff so we can
You got to ask the
perform
city.
the way in our best.
You got to ask the city manager for that.
As it was introduced, on January 18th, Diane Dallas of the Livingston High School All-Class Reunion Group, she submitted a facility use form to staff for the use of Memorial Park, which has been attached to this item. The facility would include the kitchen, as well, the whole park for the reunion that has been going on for years. This year it is on September the 23rd, 2023. So previously, the committee has used the park for various events with no issues or complaints. As part of the city's requirements, the group will be required to obtain and provide insurance certificate. Additionally, alcohol is not permitted in the park, and all other rules and requirements are required for this use of the facility. So the City of Livingston has a Parks and Recreation fee policy in place, which was adopted in 2008, and as requested by the mayor, the updated version, which was adopted by resolution in January of 2022. And in that, the fee policy does state special nonprofit groups, organizations, or schools or organizations providing a free service to the community identified by the Recreation Department may be granted special consideration in the form of reduced rates or free services. So according to the policy, it is understood that on occasion, special consideration may be needed in determining fees for groups or individuals having circumstances uncommon to those in the fee structure criteria. In these cases, the city council or city manager will approve those requests. The request for a variance shall be submitted in writing, which she has done to the city manager, and it was done well in advance of the 30-day days prior to the promotion of their event. So the city council has the discretion to approve or deny the waiving of the fees for the facility use. Staff recommends the following three options. One, allow the LHS All Alumni Reunion Group to use Memorial Park and waive any and all fees. They can deny the waiving of the fees, or they can continue the item to provide alternative direction.
Council, any questions?
Yeah, I think it's a worthy cause to just go ahead. I mean, I think all of us, or most of us, are part of this reunion anyway, so, and everybody we know is going to be there, so I don't see why we wouldn't. And a few $100, it's not, if it helps, it helps.
I did not put this in here. It does say it on the use, but they do give several $1,000 scholarships, maybe even more now, to the LHS students that would be graduating in 2024.
Yeah, but I was still referring to the waiver, you know. If it saves them money to do something else with it, why not? You know, I mean, so I'm okay with it.
Anyone else, council?
And in addition to that, thank you for recognizing that the committee does provide scholarships to our graduating students as well as other groups in the high school, sports that are in need of equipment or uniforms, the art program. They really highlight everything that the Livingstonian, or member of the Wolf Pack, they really support Livingston High School because we are all, well, some of us are graduates from Livingston High School, and we really want to, if we are a community, then I want to go ahead and make the motion to allow the Livingston High School reunion to use Memorial Park and waive all the fees.
I would like to go out for public comment first before, but
we
go ahead.
Still motion.
I'm sorry?
No, the motion still stands. If you want to call for public comments, still.
Yeah. And then actually, council, do we need to make a motion? Because this is just discussion and direction. Should we just provide direction?
Yeah, it says on the bottom to approve and deny, so.
Okay.
What I would recommend is to come back with a resolution, and the reason being, typically when waiving fees, we need to have a finding of a public benefit. And
can you repeat that?
Sure. Typically when waiving fees, city fees, well, there's different requirements depending on the type of fee that's being waived. Sometimes some fees will require reimbursement from the general fund, but since this is a facility fee, what's required is a resolution where the council finds a public benefit in order to waive the fee, which you've spoken about like on the dais. However, I looked at the packet right now, there's no resolution or anything presented with this. It's just a staff report by itself. So my recommendation would be to have it come back with a resolution, and within the resolution there be specific mention of the public benefit for providing this waiver.
The policy already states, as Jackie already stated, that, so I understand, bring it back as a resolution, we have plenty of time, but it does state in the policy that schools, organizations providing free services, that we may consider that for free services. So still requiring the resolution?
Correct.
You got it.
So under the policy, it says it can be considered, but the findings still need to be made on a per request basis.
Okay, fair enough. Bring it back.
And my motion will still stand.
Yes.
All right, so.
And as an oldest member from 79, a graduate of high school, I will either make the motion or second that.
And as a class member of 88, my motion will stand.
Yeah.
Council, any additional comments before I go out for public comment? So at this time, I'd like to go out for public comment in regards to this item. Any questions, comments on the phone? Item number 11. Hearing none, coming back to the chamber. Any comments, questions in the chamber? Seeing none, bringing it back to the dais. Council, anything else? So, Mr. Lopez?
So I did hear a recommendation from the city attorney recommending that direction be provided for us to bring back a resolution. If the council would like to provide that direction to us, we'll bring forward a resolution at the next regularly scheduled council meeting, which gives them enough time to continue planning their event. So I believe that is the recommendation from the city attorney's office, and that's what we are recommending.
Jackie, yes, go ahead.
Well, I just have a question because I have two more groups that we normally approved for facilities. Is that going to be the standard that I need to bring a resolution, and can we do something to go on consent? Because they'll be in September, so we don't want to stall them in one youth football and the others.
So
Bring it at
I
the
think
same
what we
time.
can do is, Jackie, there probably needs to be some conversation with Roy about the nuances of those specific items, and then we'll prepare that accordingly, Jackie, based on that, Roy.
The one thing I would interject is Councilmember Soto still has a motion pending, so unless Councilmember Soto withdraws her motion or amends it, we have to wait to see if there's a second on that motion before proceeding.
I will second it.
But is that motion to bring it back? Well, it needs to come back. 'cause
My
we-
understanding was her motion was to approve it, and that motion's been second, so we would need a vote on that motion.
Okay, so from legal perspective, so now I'm confused. So there's a motion, but you stated that your recommendation is to bring it back because we don't have an ordinance included in the item. And if we don't have an ordinance, what are we approving? Just,
So the city attorney's recommendation would be to bring the item back with a resolution. However, council does not have to, it's legal advice. It can be overruled by a majority vote of the council. And at this time, there's a motion and a second, so the council would have to vote on that motion.
so now my question is, what would be the legal ramifications if we do that in this particular item when we're trying to decide how to use public funding to?
Generally, we'd like to see a public benefit finding specifically identified in a resolution. That way, it makes it easier for staff or the city, should somebody challenge the expenditure of public funds, to demonstrate that we've complied with our legal requirement of expending public funds for public benefits. One could argue that, and I believe it would be, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Councilmember Soto's position is that she feels that public benefit was identified in the discussion and she wanted to proceed. But generally speaking, we like to see it in the resolution because it makes it easier for documenting purposes should it be challenged.
And I concur. I think that this is a great benefit. I mean, and I think it has been done in the past, the last few years that I remember, and this group does create and provide scholarships to our local students, and it's always a great event and is well attended. But I would like to make sure that this doesn't come, we don't have to bring it back for whatever reason other than just making sure it's done correctly the first time, and we're just moving forward. And then that we are able to set the template or have a template for the future requests that are going to be coming up in September, and not be going through this all over again, and just creating more work for everyone. But I think this is a great purpose. It gives back. It's a different way to give back to this group that gives back to the community, and I'm all for it. But I just like to make sure that we're doing things the right way the first time, and not having to come back and just trying to redo something that wasn't done right the first time. Just my opinion. Mr. Lopez, you have something else to add?
Yeah, one of the things that we've been doing, which I'll call them alterations in how we've been doing business, is that I know that there's a past history of how business was previously conducted by staff. The last thing that I want is for city staff to be accused of playing favorites or saying, well, you approved this fee waiver for that group, but you didn't approve it for me. And so I really don't like when those accusations come up. And so my preference is to have more clarity and things like Roy mentioned out in the open and transparent, because In my view, waiving fees shouldn't be done by staff. That's just a fundamental view of me, because then we get in the business of picking and choosing who we want to do it for. And even if there's a legitimate reason as to why we don't waive a certain fee, there's always that question of, well, they chose to not waive that fee because they don't like X, Y, and Z. And that's not a good position for staff to be in. So that's why I would recommend that we do have the resolution, as Roy mentioned, because I don't like when accusations get put out there. And I'm not saying that accusations have been put out against staff, but it makes it a lot cleaner for staff to create a good legacy and a good path of saying, well, we're going to do things in a consistent manner, and we're going to do it in a transparent manner as well. So that it's not just staff acting in a capacity that can be questioned in the future. So I do agree 1,000% the group is absolutely doing a great and amazing things. It just helps do things in a little bit cleaner fashion when we do it as being recommended by the city attorney. So that's the only thing I did want to add. It is different than what's been done previously, but that's the reason why it is being brought forward to the council, and it's for that specific reason, so that staff doesn't get caught up in being accused of playing favorites or doing things because they know X, Y, or Z. It's really a more transparent fashion for us to do with this in this manner, Mayor.
To weigh in, I would have to agree. My wish is also to take Mr. Santos' advice and make sure this is well documented. What we do for one, we do for all, and make sure I'm 100% in agreement that we should waive these fees. But again, I would like it to be well documented. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else before we proceed with the motion on the floor? Anything else? So we do have any other questions? So there's a motion on the floor, and I believe there's a second. First by Councilmember Soto, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Roll call?
Roll call. Councilmember Roth.
Wait, hold on one second, please. So if, for clarification, if this item, if by any chance it doesn't get approved, can it come back, or what's the procedure? Or if it's tabled and it's brought back, what's the difference?
It can be, if the motion is not successful, the item still can be brought back, or council can propose an additional motion.
Okay.
It's at the council's
Perfect.
preference.
All right, thank you. So roll call, please.
Councilmember Roth.
Yes.
Councilmember Mann.
No.
Councilmember Soto.
Yes.
Councilmember Samar. Yes. Mayor Moran.
No.
Motion approved by a vote of 3-2.
Thank you. And just for clarification, once again, the reason I voted no is because of the process. I think it could have been cleaner, but then again, it's legal only provided his legal opinion and the majority rules, and so that is at this time. And I really hope, I'm looking forward to future items can include a resolution to be so that we can avoid going through this process and just make it a lot cleaner and just really have a template for now on and on until anything changes. Thank you. Item number 12, council discussion and consideration of appointing 2 council members to the ad hoc committee for discussion related to the county property and sales tax agreement. Mr. Lopez?
So Mayor, we included this item because we know that there are some discussions that have been happening preliminarily with the county related to a master sales tax and property tax sharing agreement. This action is requesting the appointment of an ad hoc committee made up of no more than 2 council members to take and report back to the rest of the council, or really carry out the policy direction of the council related to this item, Mayor. So that is why this item is before you tonight.
Thank you. So this is something that was recommended and suggested to just to continue the process or pick up on the process and start those conversations again with the county. So, questions, comments, council?
So, Mr. Lopez has already stated that there have already been preliminary discussions. So appointing whomever, I'm assuming that there's already been discussion among council members prior to this coming to council. So if that can be shared, I mean, because this is.
Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, and just by way of background, I'll provide the foundation for this. The city has been without a master property tax sharing agreement for probably a couple decades now. And there is a desire to potentially annex properties into the city of Livingston. That cannot be done until a master property tax sharing agreement is developed. There was a discussion that was held, I believe, in May with the county CEO, Supervisor Espinoza, Mayor Pro Tem Gripal, and Mayor Moran, really to talk about if there was any sort of desire on the city's part to have discussions related to that master property tax, sales tax sharing agreement. We did believe that it was in the best interest for the council to formally weigh in and make an appointment of the ad hoc committee, whoever the council decides on that. So that's why this is being brought forward, so that the city is acting in a very transparent and proper manner with respect to the specific topic, council member.
So with that even being said, we already have 2 council members that have been in on this conversation. So the three of us are not even be considered and being appointed to this ad hoc, because we've already had people discussing it without transparency to the rest.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Go ahead.
Just for clarification, I don't believe discussion was about what should be settled or negotiated. It was more of, hey, folks, we need to start the process more than anything else. There was no discussion of what, just we need to move this forward. And at the request of the city manager, I did finally get a call back from the CEO of the county, and I let him know that we may be appointing an ad hoc committee tonight. And the comment was, when you guys appoint, let us know. We'll meet with your staff to get things lined up. So that's where it is at this point. So the CEO will be, if once we appoint, they will be contacting the staff so staff can get things coordinated.
Mayor, if I could, I want to dovetail to what Mayor Pro Tem said. Absolutely correct. There was no discussion about how anything would be coordinated. Absolutely no discussion about that. It was purely about, hey, is there interest in having a conversation? And that was the extent of the conversation. So there wasn't anything else besides that was discussed. That's really what the conversation was. And that's why this item is being brought forward, so that if there is more conversations, that it's done properly.
So and that is the reason why this item is here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this item, and we'd just be going with the people that were previously assigned. And then obviously this is a new council, but it's those conversations were non-existent for a while. And one of the things that we've been working on is just to try and bring those back and start having those conversations with people at the county. And so hopefully that answered your question. Council, any other questions? Is there any other questions, Ms. Otto?
I just wanted to make sure that we were going through this process where we weren't violating any Brown Acts.
Thank you. Council, anything else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, how long do these normally take? Are these months, years before these are?
I don't, if I
Being
may,
council.
I don't, I'll be surprised if we get this done within a year, maybe a year and a half. It's, a lot of it depends on where the discussion goes, what the county wants to take, what we're willing to give, you know, and I can already anticipate some of the rough points we have to go through, probably, you know, our fire money, amount of sales tax, which we don't know what they're going to demand or what we want to give, because we also have to make a decision based on, does it make sense for the city, you know, because currently we don't have a revenue sharing, but the last revenue sharing we had, there was no give back on sales tax. That was back in 2014 that the county decided to just back out for, I don't want to go into reasons, we can speculate, but they canceled it out. Then there was an attempt made several years ago, and something was negotiated to some degree. County passed it, but it didn't pass at the city council level because at that time, the amount of sales tax that was being requested, I believe it was 5% of the 1%, then steps up to 7% of the 1%. It didn't pencil out, even though it came out, but it was voted in the negative by the council. So that's where we were at last time. So, however, until we do work on something for revenue sharing, tax sharing, whatever you want to call it, we have to start the process. Otherwise, we can't even, we can do the general plan, but what's their general plan to do when we have no land to bring in? You know, we can sit here and dream about moving forward, but you're not annexing anything without revenue sharing. Yeah, so.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
And if I remember correctly, I think the last conversation that the Livingston City Council had in regards to this item, you were still a mayor. So that's probably about 3 to 4 years ago.
Yes, that is correct.
So that was the last time there was any conversations being had at all. And I think it's we need to start working on it. The last time, I think it was over 2 years ago, myself and the previous mayor were appointed to pick up those conversations. I'm still waiting for those meetings. Over 2 years ago. So
it was interesting. The agreement we did have, that was before it was canceled, I was the mayor, and the one we almost came close to approving, I was still the mayor. So let's not have to do this in a 3-time on a mayor type thing. So let's try to get this, however we work out as a body, to figure out what we need to do and move forward. Because we do need to, because whatever decision we make as a body, once it's approved, general plans are moved forward and everything is done, you're not going to see any significant growth because it can take years just for the general plan to move forward. And then once the developers and folks realize we have extra land for them to request annexations and all that, it can be you're looking at 5 to 7 years almost. So we do need to move this forward as quickly as possible.
So yes. So having that said, and before I go out to public comment, I think it's important, because once again, if we don't have this, how can we grow? We don't have a general plan. But anyways, and this is something that I want to be part of. I think that being part of actually, more than anything, is not necessarily negotiations. I think just it's more than anything just having those conversations, and being able to understand both sides. And I think when you call it negotiations, it's kind of like just a very negative term, But anyways, so
Sir?
Yes.
If I may interject before you go to public comment, because I would love for them to weigh in. It sounds like there's going to be some really robust negotiations. And Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for the background. Really appreciate it. With that said, I would, if the council will have it, if those individuals will have it, I'd love to appoint Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem for this ad hoc committee. Thank you.
So at this time, I'd like to go out for public comment and now bring it back to the dais. Is there any public comment on the phone in regards to this item? Bringing it back to the chamber. Any public comment in the chamber?
Diego Castillo, Livingston resident. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of feedback. I'm a real estate developer, and hypothetically, if this was approved, let's say tomorrow, you'd probably still be 5 to 10 years before anything would happen. And right now, if you guys want to do, if you guys want to help the residents of Livingston with rental housing stock and single-family stock, you guys need to start acting on it now, because the cost of construction is not getting any cheaper. And like I said, this is 5 to 10 years out before you guys actually make an impact on the community. So by you guys moving now, I would say best case is 5 years before you guys actually see anything for the community. So that's it. Thank you.
Any other public comment in the chamber in regards to this item? Bringing it back to the dais.
Did Mr. Mon, did you make the motion for appointment?
If appropriate, I just wanted to get that in before we went out to public comments in case they wanted to weigh in on my choice. Thank you. But officially, I would like to make that a motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Mann, second by Councilmember Roth. Roll call, please.
Just want to clarify, so the mayor and the mayor pro temp were both appointed.
That is correct.
Roll call. Councilmember Roth?
Yes.
Councilmember Mann?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Mayor pro temp Samra?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, before we go on the next item, just so we bring this out, these discussions and things can be quite complicated. I would also request at a future date, not right now, if the staff feels that we need some expertise beyond what we can provide at our staff level, that we bring this at a later date to help get staff some help in folks that might be, that know in and outs of the budgeting, not budgeting, but how the fire mitigation money and all this works, so we can get a good idea of what it will take and how we can counter our opinion or our feelings on what the county may say as far as their cost, because I do believe they do have to justify their cost. They can't just simply say we want 50% or 75%. They need to justify that's what it costs to provide those services. So at a later date, I would like to bring that back forward to see if we need any expert consultants here.
So is that part of your future agenda item?
No, it's more of a future item at some time, not necessarily right now.
Okay, thank you. So now I want to get to council direction on future agenda items. Councilmember Mann, is there anything for future agenda items?
Direction and a future agenda item. Being that Mr. Santos is here, I wanted to make it known that as far as transparency goes, I know we are dealing with a lot of closed session items. I know there's a lot of litigation going on. There's a lot of different investigations. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. With that said, when appropriate, when we're able to, I really want to bring it forward and share as much as we can with our community as soon as it's available when you deem that it's appropriate. But I wanted to make that known, please. Additionally, I guess this is more for Mr. Lopez. As far as I had a resident reach out to me, and the concern was there was some construction going on. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it was on Willow, near Willow and Lennon, possibly, in that general area. And the question came up, you know, how do we reach out to that community that's going to be affected? How long before do we reach out to them? If it's going to be completely cut off, I understand, I'm pretty sure there must be something in our policies already. But at what point will we give a heads up to that community? There was a lot of dust in that area. There were some elderly patients in the area that were oxygen dependent. With that said, you know, I just want to investigate further and see what we have in place and possibly see if we can tweak and refine that to make sure that we have our community's best interest.
I'll follow up with you and get some details.
I really appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Councilmember Roth.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to see down the road here a discussion with the council, CAL FIRE, and our volunteer fire department on what the roles are in the fire department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Soto?
If we could also put out for recruitment for a police chief, recruitment for a city manager. I'd like to bring those forward. Also, if we can find a way, I know that we had a very good discussion in regards to facility waiver requests. If there is a way that we can, well, we're going to bring it back, but if there's a way that we can earmark some money within the budget so that we have groups that we're going to fund rather than the fee waivers, if they come in with the documentation that's required in the policy, if that would even make a difference so that we're not seeing that our recreation department is losing out on some of those fees. So if we can bring back that item that we discussed earlier, because I do know that there are many groups, and Jackie said herself, that there are 3 groups that have come forward with waivers requests. So I do know that we're not, we don't want to give the appearance that we're playing favorites, but they have come before the council with approval. So if we can bring that so that we can end this discussion.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I've asked this on a couple of other occasions, but I'll ask again. I still think we need to have a goal-setting workshop between Planning Commission and the City Council. Yes, we are 2 different bodies, but it seems like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand does and vice versa. And also, within that discussion, like to see what we can do or what the Planning Commission feels, others, what we can do to streamline our process for projects. Seems like when a project goes, we have lots and lots of small-time investors or project people. They're not big, giant, projects, that do multiple homes. They're usually small, independent folks, don't quite understand the procedures, and we need to kind of lay those down so when they come in, it's not they go through 6 months or 3 weeks or whatever the time is going to be, then, well, we didn't know. And then we need to set up some streamlined processes everybody understands, and then also with planning and the council to say, here's our vision for the next couple of years and here's our priorities. I think it is important because it helps the staff realize what they should be spending a lot of their time on and what priorities are. So I think that is important.
Excuse me. In addition to what Mayor Pro Tem said, is streamlining a process. I know that I've asked before of a chamber. So if we can help our businesses with like a checkoff list of what they can expect and provide them with the resources of how to start up a business, what they need, rather than having staff. Well, we want staff involved, of course, but having a chamber would help these new businesses coming in, knowing that they have this criteria to meet, this here, and rather than them coming in thinking that this is going to happen this way, this is not the policy that has been set forth. So actually, if we can have some more discussion about bringing back a Chamber of Commerce or initiating a chamber.
Okay, so thank you. The only thing that I have right now at this time is just if we can have a report in regards to the both commissions, recreation and planning, just a follow-up on attendance reports at a future meeting. I would appreciate that. Other than that, that's it. Thank you. And we are to adjourn this meeting at 9:58. And well, actually, we're just going to go back to closed session at 9:58, and then we'll come back after closed session and report out. Thank you.
Hold on, Mr. Mayor, actually.
Yes.
We have to read the closed session item and then go out for public comment.
Yes.
In the closed session.
Thank you for that. So the next closed session item that we have is item number 13. It's conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D2, and we have two matters. And we're with that, is there any public comment in regards to this item on the phone? In the chamber? 9:59. Thank you. Good night.